Hey gang, Kevin here, Life22, and today we have a return guest on the show, and we're here for a little bit of a game. The game is the yes or no game. I've had it for a while and been meaning to try it out and try out a new style in the studio with a guest, and so today we have the returning of Paul the Good Husband.
Let's go.
Paul?
How's it going, man?
A little bit of a unique view on the show. Paul's been on the show before, and he is Paul the Good Husband. Up on the screen. So the yes or no game, for those who are not familiar, we have a stack of cards here. They have some questions. They might be political in nature. They might be odd. They could be challenging. My job is to guess what your answer to the question is, and then you will unveil what your answer is, and then we kind of go forward with a discussion, a little bit of a reasoning on why your answer or question or whatever is what it is. And then we rotate. And then we keep track, and if I guess right, I get a point. If I guess wrong, I lose a point, and then it goes back and forth. So we've got Kevin and Paul. Paul? I'm going to slide the first question to you.
Okay.
You read the question, and then I will choose how to guess.
Okay. All right, ready?
Sure. Ready when you are, buddy.
It says, porn is demon worship.
How would Paul answer this question? How would Paul answer this question? I feel like your wife would answer the opposite.
Probably.
I feel like you would answer no, but your wife would answer yes.
Yeah, you'd be right.
Why is it not, Paul? This is the discussion part of the show.
Right. I think it's more of a worship of self, almost, in a way. You know, you're satisfying your own needs and desires and lusts rather than trying to, you know.
So I feel like that answer, so this is where your wife believes in demons, right? Like, you can have faith in Christianity or Judaism or, Islam, but if you don't believe in demons, then how could it be demon worship, right? See, I feel like, do you believe in demons?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's angels and demons. Yeah, I believe that.
Okay. That's where I'm kind of like, is that where you're going? Because would the worship of the self still not be demonic influence if you believe in demons?
I don't know. I think it's more of, just more of, if you're going off of the religious side of things, obviously there's, what's honoring of God, and then there's honoring of, the world or of the self, and I would categorize it, I guess more for, it being, of more pleasure rather than, God sets up sex and love. This would be a union between,
Sure.
a man and wife, and her husband and wife, and or boyfriend and girlfriend. And when you kind of go against that, is it anti-God? Maybe. It's definitely something that could lead to not being intimate with, your significant other.
Right. So your no answer is not it's still a condemnation of pornography, but it's
Right.
not a.
But
right.
I was, it's just the term that they, call demon worship. I wouldn't call it that.
No.
Per
Right.
se. I would just call it more of just.
Did you ever read the Screw Tape letters? No. C.S. Lewis, Uncle Screw Tape was a demon that writes letters to his nephew Screw Tape, who is messing with humans in the world, and they're all. But you got to go down that rabbit hole of
Right.
actual how much influence, if you believe in demons and angels versus how much influence do they actually have? Because some people believe they exist, like they believe ghosts exist, but they don't believe ghosts are all around them all the time. It's in certain scenarios and certain instances. See what I mean?
Sure.
If you believe at all in ghosts,
Right.
right? So it's kind of a very similar category. You want to move on?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was a tough one.
Yeah, there you go. That's the purpose of the game. It gets people having this dialogue on different things, and you can have these conversations with other people and So I'm going to take a point for that round.
Okay.
And in the true nature of the game, it is a drinking game. So if you win, if you lose the round, you have to drink.
Okay.
If you win, you get to drink.
Okay.
So, women shouldn't be police officers.
I just slide my.
So, hold on. I'm trying to think of how, because sometimes they get this, like, so. Okay. I'm ready.
Okay.
So I'm agreeing with the statement that women should not be police officers. That's where it gets. That's where the game also gets tricky. Is
Right.
the wording of the question.
Sure.
So you're saying that yes, women shouldn't be police officers is what my answer would be.
I guess I was going more of yes, women can be police officers. I guess that's what I was going for.
Okay, so then your thought process would be no,
Okay.
which you would be correct.
Okay.
So, Paul gets a point for that round. Oh, I'll also take your discard. I guess we'll put the discard pile over here. And the draw pile there. Works. Perfect. So, do we want to have a discussion about
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, no, I think that I think there's a lot of fine officers. I think that to instill like this DEI requirement for men and women and like just all sorts of different communities where we're like, well, we're going to take a guy who's, you know, a black police officer or an Asian police officer over a white guy or over a white woman because of the color of their skin, or we need to have more women applying, kind of like where they drop the metric and merit for the army, or you know the SEALs. Remember that they were dropping that whole, like they were going to start lowering the standard for SEALs towards the end of the last presidential administration. They were talking about it, and it was like, no, that doesn't mean that like more women are more capable. It's like if they're capable, then they should be able to meet the standard to test, at which point they can do it.
Sure.
And so for police officers, obviously they're not held to the same standards as, you know, SEAL Team 6.
Right.
So, you know, I don't have
There's
that.
a lot of social aspects of most of the police work is
Is this me?
going to.
This is you.
No, I'm Lyman.
Okay.
I'm Lyman.
All right.
A lot of police calls are just human in nature. You're dealing with either domestic disputes or somebody that's a victim, and a lot of times the victims are the women. So sometimes it's important to definitely
Be able to have
another
somebody-
female be able to set them as take them aside and say, hey, what happened,
and you can get somebody to open up to
somebody
you
that
more.
they can feel comfortable with, because sometimes if you just got the crap beat out of you by an abusive person or something like that,
And
you have-
maybe men have been abusing you your whole life, and
Right.
so you don't want to come talk to a man.
Sure.
So yeah, and I get that. I
Yep.
can see where that's.
and also even just sometimes the mental health, when some people are really having a hard time, women just have that natural ability of being
Mothering.
mothering, and just
Yeah.
can just go on a softer touch that maybe a guy may not come across for somebody that's having mental instance, and they're just as brave, and there's definitely scary, going on calls and not knowing what's going to happen once you open that door. So
Right.
if they're willing to take the oath and put on the badge, go for it.
Did you already pull a card?
I have not. Oh, this one doesn't really. Being a woman has helped my career. I guess that's a discard.
Well, I mean that's an easy one, Paul. You're not going to give me a.
Go on, I like a little challenge. The
What,
Aztecs deserve what they got.
So
Trying to remember my history
So-
real quick.
watch your hand. It's on camera, so I can see.
Okay.
I don't want to have to see your.
Right.
So how would Paul answer on the Aztecs deserve what they got?
Is that in reference to like the Spanish coming and basically conquering them? Is that kind of what they're asking? Just
Yeah, yeah. I would assume if that's how you're interpreting it.
Yeah, I'm just trying to remember who's the Aztecs and which one was.
Like, so Cortez, the Spanish conquistadors, those guys came in and they slaughtered the Aztecs.
Right.
So I'm going to say Paul assumes that it's yes, that they did.
I was gonna go more the.
No, you don't think they deserve what they got?
No, not particularly. I mean, they were just doing their own thing, living in their own world, and all of a sudden, outsiders came and basically invaded their lands and took away everything they had. I mean, obviously, that's been the history of mankind. To conquer another race or people, and then take their natural resources and stuff like that. But I mean, did they deserve to die? No, I don't think they deserve to die.
I think that if you had more knowledge on the Aztecs, then I think that you'd be like, wow, because the Spanish showed up and they were slaughtering. They were doing human sacrifices, women and children, to the gods to make stuff grow. Everybody points them out to be this like great, superior, like tribe of people that built all the Aztec pyramids. They just found them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So they found these pyramids, kind of moved in, and then just started like destroying stuff. For the last year, I've kind of gained quite a bit of knowledge on the Aztecs, and then most recently, I watched Matt Walsh's Uncovering History. I don't know if you've seen the new documentary series by Matt Walsh. It's pretty phenomenal. He just went over all of that with he did slavery, the truth behind slavery last month, and then he actually did Native Americans into the I believe the Aztecs. So, which kind of like most of. So,
cool.
Yeah. So I lost my point, Paul.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Don't worry. This game isn't over yet. Virtue is more important than freedom. Virtue is more important than freedom. We need to add soft music to the background once we're done.
Guess I'm trying too hard to think how I would pick it, or else I gotta be picking what you're picking.
Yeah. Feel free to enjoy any breakfast sandwich that my wife has made from Farm Fresh Chicken Eggs.
No.
You are correct, Paul. I do not think that virtue is more important than freedom. Virtue is virtue signaling. Like, that would be, virtuous to select the female or black candidate over the white candidate because that's what society would expect of me. It's more virtuous, right? And I think that our freedom is more important than such frivolous things. So, yes, you are correct. You know your buddy Kevin.
Yay. There is no separation between church and state.
How would Paul answer? So, yes or no is you think it's true or false, essentially.
Right.
So, there is no separation of church and state. So if I say yes, that means I think my buddy Paul thinks that question is accurate and correct. So I am going to, I believe that Paul thinks there is a separation. I, as of late, do not. I would agree with that statement. What's your answer, Paul?
So I'm just trying to find what I was going to say, and then if you would be correct or not. I don't know. I think what I wanted to say was yes, but there's no separation between a church and a state.
You're saying there is a separation of church and state?
I mean, Traditionally, no, but as of now, then there is yes. Do I think we should? I would say probably yes. So I'm going to go with yes.
Okay. -1. Oh, yeah, you got a point for the last round, didn't you, Paul?
What's that? Yeah, I guess I did.
Yeah. -1 for Kevin. So,
Elaborate.
elaborate on my
Yeah.
breaking down of this.
Yeah.
Separation of church and state. So, I think there is a separation of church and state. I think there is, to a degree. I think that, like, we say that there's a separation of church and state, and if you follow, like, the Federalist Papers and the Anti-Federalist Papers, they talk about how there should be a separation of church and state, as so that the state does not corrupt the church. But is there a separation of church and state in the actual sense that, like, the church in what people believe in? Well, look at secularism, right? People who don't actually believe in a church.
Sure.
Like, atheists believe in nothing, and that's a belief, and that is their church. Their church is no God, no structure, no whatever. That's people with purple hair. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's the purple-haired people eaters. You know, they.
And, like I said, going back to traditionally, a lot of the rules in the Constitution was derived off of, scripture and, morals that were, accepted for, decades and hundreds of years that, they embrace also from England and, brought over to the United States and recognize that there shouldn't be one sole, religion that the state sponsors, that it was either this or nothing, and yet still most of those founders were of religious belief, and so they essentially put their beliefs into what allowed religion to be free, and it seemed like most people practiced that sort of mindset at the time, whereas it's kind of deviated a little bit over time, and it kind of seems like if you allow one, you got to allow them all, which is good in an aspect that religion can't be enforced on anyone, or